What's up, the world? It's your boy Tommy Malb, and I just came in because I wanted to make sure that I had this discussion because this is a discussion I feel needs to be had when as it pertains to the NBA and how they go about their analyzation. Okay, so first and foremost, people need to understand that the NBA, they will take shooting basketball analysts, meaning guys, 90% of them who don't know anything about basketball, and the ones who do, that are shooters, they tend to rank shooting over everything else, right? It's not scoring, let's make this abundantly clear, not scoring, shooting, meaning pretty shots, right? So this is the camp that automatically says that Kevin Durant is the best player on the planet, right? 90% of them say this because they don't understand how scoring works, right? They don't understand how Kevin Durant in the Celtics series was isolated and taken out. They don't understand it because because all they care about is how consistently you can hit a jumper. 90% of these guys, that's if you can hit a jumper, you're a good player, right? When in the other way of looking at it, it doesn't matter how good you are at attacking the rim. It does not matter how good you are at passing, how good you are at rebounding. All that stuff is irrelevant to 90% of analysts. How good are you at hitting a jump shot? Right, and I think that this is heavily influenced by the fact that 90% of these guys are white guys who couldn't play defense, couldn't rebound, but they could shoot. Right. The other is that you got a lot of short guys who are media members who couldn't rebound and couldn't shoot. I mean, couldn't rebound and couldn't a lot of times do much of anything else because they weren't that athletic, they weren't that tall. So all they could do is shoot because they had to shoot. They couldn't attack the rim. They couldn't do any of those things. So it's heavily biased towards shooting, right? So now let me get this out of the way first and foremost. Kevin Durant, I think is it depends because people say Giannis. No. At this point, at this stage, I still would give LeBron James the edge as the best player in the world. And hear me out while I say that. Experience, there's nobody more experienced than LeBron James. Basketball IQ, up to this, nobody has taken that mantle from LeBron as the most mentally astute basketball player in the league. Right? That's still LeBron. Experience, basketball IQ, still LeBron, right? Athleticism, LeBron is not that far behind 90% of the guys. I would say Giannis is more athletic than he is, but there's not many other guys. And I'm talking about when you include size and weight, right? Because a lot of people like to say, well, Ja Morant's fast. Yeah, well, Ja Morant's like 5 inches shorter and like 30 pounds lighter, and he's not that much faster and not that much athletic, more athletic. So, no, I think LeBron's still pretty much close to his athletic. More athletic than the vast majority of people in the league. So you would give him that. Giannis is tall and long. I would not, and he's quick. He has a quick first step. But I wouldn't say he's more athletic than LeBron. He's taller, yes, but he's not more athletic than LeBron. LeBron can still jump higher than Giannis, in my opinion. But my point in saying that is to say, I'm just saying that because the first thing people want to say all the time is they just automatically ask. Jokic, to me, is not even a top 10 player. He gets assists, he gets rebounds. I don't care. 90% of the assists and rebounds he's supposed to get because he does that because 90% of the time he has the attention goes to him and he swings it and he has good players around it. That's all fine and dandy, but that doesn't make you the best player in the league. Okay, because you defer a lot to adequate players like Jamal Murray and MJP, I mean MPJ, and all these guys who are great players. Yeah, if I had those, if none of the players in the NBA had that type of team around them, they would be doing the same jump Jokic is doing. That his team is extremely good. So just because he plays the game with a lot of assists and rebounds doesn't, I like him for it, but the way he gets his assists and rebounds to me are not sustainable when he's playing against good teams. I think that's why most people do not fear him. They don't fear Jokic because Jokic is just not somebody you have to fear. Nobody is sitting up there saying I won't give it if the time came down to it and it was Jokic one-on-one with Joel Embiid, they taking Jokic on both sides of the court. No. You taking Joel Embiid. Giannis is saying that against him versus Giannis is laughable. Like, come on, bro. You wouldn't put this man in the same stratosphere. If you had a chance, you saw the NBA that NBA draft. Come on, we talking about players, right? Jokic ain't in the picture. Luka's in the picture. I would put Luka probably somewhere between 5th, 3rd, and 6th. Same thing with Ja Morant, probably 3rd and 6th. But I mean, as far as these guys, I think people discount experience. They discount assisting mostly, but they also are very, very neglectful of defense. Right? Defense used to be the calling card of being considered the best player in the league. There are 4 players, 5. That meet that criteria. Kevin Durant, LeBron James, Kawhi Leonard, Giannis Antetokounmpo, and Joel Embiid. 5. Those are your top 5 players because they are 5. They are, because you can make the argument they're top 5 in scoring, right? They're elite defenders. There's elite scorers, right? And they can rebound. Let me see. And well, not all of them are great passers, but you would make the argument that at least 2 or 3 of them are great passers, and the rest of them can pass if they need to. Right? Joel Embiid is an extremely good passing big man. Antetokounmpo is one of the best passers in the league. LeBron is one of the best passers in the league. Kawhi Leonard needs to be better as a passer, and Kevin Durant is one of the best. Is a very good passer, very good elite passer. So passing and can play without the ball. All of these things about each one of these players is true. You can't say that about Luka. Luka's ball dominant. He needs the ball all the time. You make the same argument about Ja Morant. He needs the ball in his hands at all the time. Jokic can generally only affect the game when he has the ball in his hand. If he does not have the ball in his hand, then he does not have the same effect on the game. Now he's an extremely elite player. That's why I say I would put him in the top 10. But top 5 to me, that hasn't changed. Now they kind of move around that same top 5 where it drop there and drop there. But right now I would go LeBron, KD, Giannis, Joel Embiid, Kawhi. And that's only because Kawhi's coming off of an injury. And it's the least versatile of the 5. Right? Kawhi is the only one who's shown that he can play without the ball, but he can't run an offense. You can't. Kevin Durant can run an offense. Joel Embiid can run an offense. Giannis can run an offense. Meaning you can give the ball to them, and they can either take people off the dribble. You can pass it to them at a post, and they can pass out of the post. They can do all these things. Kawhi is not he can do it if he's forced, but that's really not his game. So that's why only why I put him at 5. But he's such an elite defender, such an elite shooter, such a versatile player in other ways outside of passing. That's the only out of the 3. Because my next 5 would probably be Steph, Ja Morant, Luka, Jokic, and probably Jason Tatum. Right? Now, to me, this is the best of the non-diverse people. Top 5 is for the most well-rounded elite players in the league. Right? The next 5, I think it depends on what you care about because they're weak in other areas. Yeah, and I'll make the argument. I would put AD probably in my top 5, or I mean top 10 to top 7 if he wasn't always hurt. Reliability is extremely important. That's why Kawhi also, I would put him at 5. But Kawhi is way more versatile when he's healthy than Anthony Davis. Anthony Davis is a better rebounder than I would say 4 of the top 5. He's a better post player than half of the 5. He's a better mid-range. He has a very good mid-range game, but he has no versatility from 3. He generally is not the best at passing from the post. So, you know what I mean? Anthony Davis has a lot to be desired in his game, namely reliability, right? Kawhi is so versatile and such an elite defender, and yeah, so is AD. AD is an elite defender, great, but Giannis and Joel Embiid do that as well, and they do it with the ability to be there all the time, even though Giannis is hurt right now. But the point I'm trying to say about AD is AD's biggest problem is his ability to be there. I don't even count him because it's hard to rate him when he's never playing. But I would have put him probably in my top 7 had he been if he played the way he plays normally, consistently. But as of right now, I just scratch him out as a DQ because I just don't know. The sample size is so small. But the rest of the top 5, I would say. Now you're getting down to nut cutting, and it's about the next 5. This is the hugely lacking. Like you can say that Kawhi Leonard is hugely lacking when it comes to passing, but he is the best. If you put him in that group of players, he is easily the most versatile in that group. Steph can pass, and offensively he can shoot the 3. But he is a marginal to average attacker of the rim. Defensively, he's laughable. And as a passer, he's average. So you would say he's good. He's just really elite at scoring, right? Shooting in particular. You go to Luka Doncic. I mean, he is such a liability on defense. He's so ball dominant that he takes away from the rest of the teammates. He's a great passer. He's a good rebounder. And he's a good scorer. But there are a lot of players that can do that. The thing that what he lacks the most is lateral quickness. So he has to rely on fouls heavily. Like I said, he's ball dominant. And defensively, he is as bad as Steph Curry. And at 6'8", 200-some pounds, he shouldn't be that bad at defense, right? But he is. So he's too much of a liability on defense for him to be better than any of the 5 guys I named at the beginning, right? Jokic, once again, he is too bad at defense to be in the discussion. And he's not that elite of a scorer, right? He's an average scorer. He's just average at a lot of different stuff, which makes him an elite player overall, but he's not. If you're talking about elite at any one thing, no, I would say Jokic is not elite at one different thing. He's a good passer. I mean, he's a great passer, but I would not say he's an elite passer. Meaning, I would say he's probably top 5. I mean, 5 out of behind maybe LeBron, Luka, Chris Paul. I would say Trae Young's a better passer than he is. So I just, as of right now, I just would not put. I would say Jokic is probably in the top 10, but I wouldn't know where to place him out of Luka, Steph, and him, right? Who was the other ones I named? Jason Tatum. Jason Tatum is a great scorer, good defender, but he's not. I wouldn't call him elite yet. And like I said, offensively, he's very versatile, but he cannot. He's not somebody who rebounds often. I mean, he's not a rebounder. He's not a guy that's just going to get in the ball and rebound, mostly because he's generally shooting, and he's not somebody that generally is going to run the offense in a way that a point guard would run it. Like, he models his game after Kobe, but Kobe was when he got to a certain age, which with respect, Tatum is not there yet, but when Kobe got to a certain age, Kobe could play a versatile game. Kobe could get his teammates involved. Kobe could pass. Kobe could shoot. Kobe could do everything at a certain point. Tatum has not gotten to that point yet. He's has so many holes in his game because he's easily sometimes he can disappear. His passing is shaky at best. His basketball IQ is shaky at best. And it just he's inconsistent. So, but he is he's an elite defender. He's an elite scorer, right? I mean, he's a good defender and an elite scorer, right? But like I said, because he's not consistent. And so these are all the ones that I would say they're good with a tick. The guys I said in that top 5, you don't see them getting isolated in ISO situations. Unless it's at the top of the key, obviously, but for the 2 big men. But I'm saying they're elite protectors of the rim, which is their job as 5. They're not 3s, they're 5s. So their job is to protect the rim. Right? Jokic is terrible at that. Luka's terrible. He's a 3 who can't guard anybody. Steph is a point guard that can't guard anybody. Ja Morant, say the same thing. Guard who is a little below average on defense. Passing, he's great. He's just like Luka. He can fill up the stat sheet with the passing, the rebounding. I mean, not even the rebounding, because rebounding, he's below average at that too. So you would say he can fill up the stat sheet with points and assists. But that's generally because he's ball dominant. He has the ball in his hand a lot. When you have the ball in your hand a lot, almost every point that's scored generally is going to be passed from you. So it doesn't mean you're doing anything generally but passing it to, a Desmond Bain, who is a very consistent shooter. You know what I'm saying? Jackson, who's a very consistent shooter. They have some great players on the Grizzlies. So, I'm not trying to knock Ja. He's a great player, but there's a lot to be desired in his game. There's a lot to be desired in Luka's game, Steph's game. I mean, that is just it. So the reason that's why I will put. Now people want to say, well, LeBron is not the defender he used to be. He may not be the defender he used to be, but he's pretty damn good, right? Does he sometimes fall asleep on defense? Yes, but consistently, LeBron is not being isolated in like a Luka, a Ja Morant, a Steph Curry. He's not being isolated at the top of the key with people trying to find ways to get him or 1v1 with them. That's not happening. Guys are calling for picks when LeBron is on him. Ain't nobody calling for pick when Ja Morant on him. There's nobody calling for picks when Steph Curry is on him. They're calling picks to get Steph Curry. So, and Luka and Jokic and nobody's not attacking the rim if they see Jokic at the rim. They're not. They're not fearing Jokic, and if he stands there too long, he's gonna get dunked on. Nobody fears Jokic on the defensive end. He may get lucky and get some below the rim blocks, but for the most part, he's not somebody that you sit up there like, man, what we gonna do? How we gonna beat Jokic? We can't do nothing with him in the paint. He's not Joel Embiid. He's not Giannis. He's not guy from Phoenix, DeAndre Ayton. He's not one of those guys that you can cancel going to the rim when he's there. AD. You know what I mean? He's not that guy. He's a below the rim. He's a below the rim rebounder, and he's a below the rim shot blocker. So He's super athletic, slow feet. He's just a liability on the defensive side. And I think that's the difference between this day and age and the older day and age. Back in, I would say about 10 years ago, you had to be considered the best player or one of the best players. You had to be able to play both sides of the field. But when these white guys, and no disrespect, I'm not trying to, I'm just saying, when these guys like Luka Doncic and Jokic came into the game, it's like they just changed the criteria. Now all of a sudden you can be a horrible defender. No, scratch that. It was Steph. Steph was the first one to start this BS about you can be a liability where they hide you on defense, yet still somehow be the best player in the league. It's crazy. So it was Steph that started. Then Luka came along and Jokic. And this time, when I looked at the top 5 at the beginning of the year, they had Steph, Luka, and Jokic in it. And then I understand there's a reason why these guys are good in the regular season, yet get flame out in the postseason. Because in postseason, it is so hard to hide a liability on defense. For a team to get deep in the playoff, they generally have to have 3-4 deep scoring that can beat you scoring the ball. And when as it gets to nut cutting time and the games become closer and closer, and y'all go deeper and deeper in the playoffs, it becomes harder and harder to hide bad players on defense. And one thing I realized was that's what happens. Jokic is too hard to hide him on defense. Luka is too hard to hide him on defense. Steph is too hard to hide him on. Steph gets away with it because he has Draymond, Clay, and you know what I'm saying. Steph gets away with it. So I tip my hat to Steph, but Steph gets away with it because he has elite defenders around him and Wiggins. So really, you have to go 5th and 6th deep to be able to score, to be able to isolate Steph Curry. But the rest of them ain't doing it. There's a reason why those two flame out every postseason. It's because you cannot hide them no more. You can't hide their lack of defense, and you cannot have them on the floor with the players they need to be effective, right? You can't have Jokic on the floor with a guy like Jamal Murray, because Jamal Murray is also a liability on defense. You can't have Luke on the court with a guy like Tim Hardaway Jr., who's also a liability on defense. So the guy who normally gives them the assist is gone. They can't play them both at the same time because now you got you playing a team that can go 4 deep as far as scoring, heavy scoring load, and you got 2 guys on the field that are unplayable, and you got another 3 that are marginal to average. So you're gonna end up losing that battle. That's why I hate that they just start saying, he's a top 5 player. He's the top 5 player. Well, let's pump the brakes. Can he play defense? And I would say 9 out of 10 of them, if you ask that question truthfully, you would say no. Ja's not a great defender. Luka is not a great defender. Steph is not a Jokic. These guys are not great defenders. Tatum is a good defender. Trae Young, not a good defender. If you go past that top 5 I named, they are laughably bad on defense. Name somebody outside of those 5 guys I named that are not laughably bad on defense. Only person I left out because it's Paul George. I didn't remember Paul George. I'll put Paul George at 6. That's who I would probably put at 6. And if Anthony Davis was healthy, I'll probably put him at 7. But Paul George is 6. So I would say those are my top 6. The rest of them are fighting for 7 to 11. 7 to 12. And that's because of all the points I named. So when you sit up here and you hear these analysts on TV lauding these guys that they think are these elite players, and then when you ask them, like, okay, so these guys have so many holes in their game. Most of them are extremely ball dominant, and their stats are great because they dominate the ball. If you took the ball out of their hands, would they be as dominant as they are? could they be the same? If you put Luka, you saw what happened when they tried to put Luka with Porzingis. It did not work because he's not somebody who's willing to give up the ball, because he understands once he gives up the ball, his uselessness for the team is out the window. He has no use. They have no use for him anymore. He's a liability on defense, and on offense, he's not willing, even when his team needs him to, he's not willing to give up the ball. Jokic at times is unplayable. There's stints where Jokic can't hit a shot. And when people lack off, if his teammates are not hitting their shots, Jokic is useless. He's not somebody that you can pass it, and be like, oh, play. Yeah, if he gets low in the paint and he gets deep in the paint, yeah. So it's a well of a time trying to start. But it's not hard to stop him from doing it because he's so slow-footed. You can send a guard or send anybody over there to slow him down, at least initially, and then when he goes to back down, you just double him. So I'm not saying that Jokic, once again, I'm not trying to come off like I'm trying to crap on Jokic like he's not a good player. He's a good player. But there's levels to it. And I'm tired of them throwing these guys who are marginal players, who are average at 90, a lot of different things, and not elite at anything, as great. Steph is an elite scorer. Luka is an elite scorer. But they're also elite at being terrible on the other side of the ball. Steph is an average to below average passer. He's a non-existent rebounder. So the fact that he can score 50 is cute and it's nice. But he should be nowhere near a top 5. When you're talking about effect on the game, 100% you put Steph in your top 5. Probably even top 3. When you talk about effect on a game. I wouldn't say that about no Luka. And I would not say that about Jokic. Ja Morant, 100%. Effect on the game is crazy. But that's because Ja Morant is an average defender. He's not elite. He's average. Steph is below average, but because of the way he played, the energy that the other team has to give of stopping him from shooting, makes him an elite player. That I would say effect, I would say he's 3. Anthony Davis, I would probably, in terms of effect on a game. Anthony Davis, I would probably put at top 5 as far as effect on a game. Meaning if he's in there, it's a completely different game than when he's not there. Steph is a completely different team when he's playing and when he's not playing. Luka Doncic, no. I think the Mavs, yes, he adds to the Mavs, but it's not no they're not a terrible team when he's not playing. Especially last year when they had Jalen Brunson. You saw what Jalen Brunson is doing in New York. And you saw what they were better before Luka came back with just Kyrie. Because, I mean, Kyrie is nowhere near the passer Luka is, and he's not the rebounder Luka is. But he can score. So, and they play more of a team basketball game without Luka anyways. So I'm not trying to crap on him. I'm just saying that Luka, that's why I would say Luka's top 10 in effect on the game, I would say. But he's not top 5. When I talk about effect on their team, meaning that team is not a good team when they're not there. Giannis, I would say also put in top 10. I wouldn't put him in top 5 because the team tends to win when he's not there. So it leads me to believe that Giannis benefits from having a great team around him. No knock on him because nobody can win without a great team. But I'm saying as of right now, when you're talking about effect on winning, I would say Giannis is not elite top 5. He's top 10, but you wouldn't say top 5 when you talk about his effect on his team winning. Say LeBron is clearly elite when it comes to that. The Lakers are a completely different team when LeBron's playing than when he's not. When Anthony Davis is playing and when he's not. They don't tend to win without LeBron. You don't tend to win without AD. Same thing. Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, same junk. It doesn't seem to change much whether they're playing or not. They tend to have players who can step up and do their role sufficiently. So, when it comes down to it, like I said before, these analysts are biased when it comes to shooting. And they act like 90% of the rest of the game doesn't exist. And they're quick to throw people in their top 5 because they're good shooters. And when you ask them, like, yes, but would you say, Kevin Durant's clear-cut the best player in the league. Okay, that's fine. Kevin Durant's a better shooter than LeBron. Hands down. He got that. Is he a better attacker than him? Nope. Is he better in the post? Nope. Can he guard 1 through 5? Possibly. Can he do it better than LeBron? Nope. Can he run the offense as a point guard? Nope. That's why he needed Russell Westbrook. That's why he needed the Warriors system, and that's why he could never work when James Harden. I mean, he could only score when James Harden wasn't there to run the offense. Yeah, LeBron got that. LeBron can shoot sufficiently enough to be effective from 3. LeBron is efficient enough to be effective in the mid-range. And Kevin Durant can be efficiently enough in the other stuff. But he can't do it to LeBron's level. He just can't. Even at 38. Not that Kevin Durant is that much older. I think he's only like 5 years younger than LeBron. I think he's like, 3 or 4 years. Wait. Yeah, I would say Kevin Durant's probably like 33, 34 years old right now. So he's not young, but he's definitely not that old. Not super old either. So, but my point of saying that is that this whole narrative that Kevin Durant is clearly the best player in the league. Come on, the man can't run no offense like LeBron. His IQ, he's great. He's a smart player, but he's not LeBron smart. He's Kevin Durant smart. Meaning Kevin Durant has played basketball his way his entire life. His ability to score has made it very, very hard for his solution to every problem to not be shoot over top of him. The limitations in LeBron gained early made him have to be more mentally astute. Not with the other guy. So, yeah, I would definitely put LeBron over Kevin Durant still. Because LeBron does so many different things. Elite, on the elite level. Still, at 38, he does so many things on an elite level. Kevin Durant does a lot of things on the great level, not elite, but great level. So that's why I would put him 2. Giannis is way too limited, defensively and offensively. Right? Offensively, he's a great attacker of the rim. He's great at bringing in the defense and passing it. But if his teammates are not hitting their shots, Giannis is not somebody who can't get to the rim, who's still gonna give you 30. If you pack the paint and force him to shoot, and his teammates are not making their shots, Giannis is not going to be good. He is not going to be able to do any of the things that he normally does if his teammates are not taking the lion's share of the brunt off of him by making shots. Chris Middleton, Holiday, these guys need to make the shot for Giannis to be effective. He's not Joel Embiid. You can't throw him the ball and say, hey, go get us a bucket if his teammates are not making shots. Joel Embiid, it doesn't matter if his teammates are making shots. Joel Embiid will give you 40 in a blink. but he's a liability on the perimeter. You can still bring him, you can isolate him on the perimeter, and he's a liability. He relies too heavily on his teammates on defense for me to put him over Kevin Durant or LeBron. But what Giannis excels at, which is passing, Joel Embiid is average to below average. So, I'm not putting either of those guys in Kevin Durant, LeBron James company. They're just not on that level. They're great for what they do, but they're not on LeBron and Kevin Durant's level. They're still two great players that are way up here, and everybody else is like, I don't care what the media tries to push. Giannis is not on KD's level. He's not on LeBron's level. He relies too heavily on his teammates making shots. And if he's not the one that equalizes the game, his teammates here. And you see it time after time after time. When teams block the paint and his teammates are not coming through. When you saw what happened when Middleton got hurt. When Middleton got hurt, he just relied on bullying, trying to force his way in and scoring that way. And he's elite at what he does. He's elite at attacking the rim. He's elite at passing out of double teams. He's elite at protecting the rim. But perimeter-wise, he's a liability on the perimeter. He can't guard the perimeter without fouling. Same thing with Joel Embiid, but I would at least put Giannis over Joel Embiid. Joel Embiid over Giannis, because of Joel Embiid at least is an elite 3-level scorer. Giannis is not. Giannis is a below average to below average mid-range shooter. And he's a terrible 3-point shooter. Joel Embiid is average to below average as a 3-point shooter, and he's a elite level when it comes to mid-range scoring. He's way more versatile in the post than Giannis is. He's bigger. As far as wide, he's way more skilled. So I would say Joel Embiid is third, and I will put Giannis fourth, and then I will put Kawhi fifth, because Kawhi is a great mid-range shooter. He's an average. Him and LeBron, I would say, around the same when it comes to 3-point shooting. They're shaky to average. They can get streaky, but they're not. It's not really their forte. They're more mid-range guys than 3-point guys. But Giannis is Kawhi, on the other hand, is not as athletic as LeBron. So at this age, he is not the defender he was, 2-3 years ago. I don't know if it's injuries or what, but he is not the same elite. He's a great defender, but I would not go so far as to say he's a super elite defender. Paul George, I would probably jump and put him, if it wasn't for his inconsistency in the playoffs, I would probably have him behind KD. He's the closest thing to KD and LeBron. Will probably be Paul George. Paul George is an elite defender. He's a 3-range scorer, just like Kevin Durant. He's a great attacker of the rim. He's a good passer. PG can do anything. PG is. I would put PG. Joe will probably be my top 3. Actually, not even Kawhi. It would probably be PG if he wasn't so inconsistent when it came to the playoffs. He's so inconsistent in the playoffs because I don't know if it's because of the team, but last year he played pretty well in the playoffs by himself. So I would have to actually say I would put Paul George. It's Paul George, LeBron, and KD, and everybody else is probably lower down here because these guys can do it all. Then I would probably put Joel Embiid, Giannis, and then Kawhi. And then everybody else is it just depends on what your preference is. Most people would probably put Steph after them. But he is such an atrocious defender. It's hard to put him in as when you talk about player, because defense is a part of being a good player, and he's just terrible. Jokic is terrible. Luka Doncic is terrible. These guys are not average defenders. They're well below average defenders. Meaning you might as well count 2 whenever they get caught 1v1 in any type of isolation. You might as well count it as 2 points or a foul. You know what I mean? That's all they can do. Just foul. If they're ever caught 1v1 on the perimeter. And Jokic, if he don't get you before you go up, he might as well just move out of the way. So yeah, these are all people that players that I would look at and say, that depends on what you like. But me personally, they ain't in my top 5. That's not my top 5. But I said my top 5, and I only made this because I'm sick and tired of hearing these analysts trying to basically try to act like offense, prioritize offense like everything else in the game don't matter. If you can shoot, not even offense, not even just scoring, just shooting. That's all they care about. If you're an elite shooter, you're the best player. And it's like shooting is a part of the basketball game. It's not all the basketball game, and so that's why it gets under my skin. That's why I felt the need to make a video about it. So please comment, let me know what y'all think. Like it, thumbs it up, and subscribe if you haven't subscribed. All right, y'all. Peace.